Welcome to EDU570, Week 6. Topics to keep in mind this week. Being accountable does not necessarily mean you are being responsible. Being held accountable for your role in a school means you are responding to results. For teachers, that may mean the percent of students that make growth on the state test. Being responsible, however, just states you are responsible for doing something, as long as you did it, no matter how well you follow the directive. Accountability goes further to ensure you are meeting expectations. Leaders must understand that accountability for the state and nation highlights gaps in instruction. How are these gaps related to what is happening in other aspects of society? For example, English language learners, or ELLs, instructional gaps. Do teachers truly understand what ELLs face during a typical school day? Are teachers reviewing content to ensure understanding or mastery? This is but one subgroup. What about the others? What is being done on your campus to ensure equity of education, equity of learning? Ethics means different things to different people. We will go over general versus professional ethics in a later slide. I do want to touch on the teacher as an example of a moral figure in society, however. Teachers are held to a different standard. Therefore, teaching is a moral activity. What and how a teacher imparts knowledge to students should always be reviewed, either by walkthroughs or during evaluations. Therefore, the ethics of teaching and the ethics of learning are important concepts for an administrator to understand. But they're difficult. What does it mean to ethically teach? Does it look like engagement? Is it proven by high test scores as evidence of growth? Then, what about ethics of learning? Is that on the student? How are students ultimately held accountable for their part of the process? How can we help students understand the enormity and importance of this task? What does it look like? Does it look like student engagement too? The Feely standards highlighted play right into finding what the ethics of teaching and learning look like. Being able to identify and mold up-and-coming leaders while managing your responsibilities and still reinforcing professional growth encompasses the knowledge you already know. You know the ethical educator. You know who they are and what they do for students. There is no one definition. There are many. Being able to instinctively know makes you a leader. Being able to surround yourself with these folks makes you a smart and successful leader. These are some good sites that can provide more information about the ethics of teaching and the ethics of learning, as well as teaching as a moral activity. Please remember, if I provide a link or you find a link in the course, use that information as support for your papers. General or personal ethics versus professional ethics. Your personal ethics are you. They are how your parents raised you. Your personal ethics include your values and morals. Typically, if you do not follow your personal ethics, someone may be emotionally or physically harmed or hurt. Your professional ethics, on the other hand, are the rules your boss tells you to follow. It is how you are supposed to act or dress at work, for example. If you are allowed to do certain things by one boss and then not another, you may have difficulty and it could impact your employment. An example would be if you have a laid-back administrator and then that person leaves and the next administrator is much more strict, you may have difficulty navigating the expectations of the new boss. Let's take a look at Chapter 6 from the text. Accountability. When I became a teacher, school grades were just starting. I don't know a world without accountability. When accountability was not required by the state, the education system in Florida was a mess. Now, all students are expected to grow, and districts, schools, and teachers are held accountable for their growth. We have a measuring stick. In my district, we give district-wide semester exams to make sure all teachers are following the curriculum. Without accountability, there is no one to blame. There is no standard to aim for. But there is another way to look at accountability. Accountability to the extreme. If it is to the extreme, it could be a cause for dysfunction in schools. Accountability can put too much pressure due to high-stakes testing. It becomes a fine line. Even in the state of Florida, it became so much that the opt-out movement started with the state assessment, that there were too many tests and they wanted to get rid of testing. So definitely look into different ways that accountability could impact a system. But accountability is good, and it's good for a lot of things, and it's good to ensure that teachers are doing their jobs and all students are given the same and equal opportunities. Let's take special education students, for example. They also have the opportunity to reach high standards. Therefore, accountability measures are included for our ESE students. This week's post digs even further into this reality. Your discussion post for week 6. Should I stay or should I go? You will read the case study on page 119, and then at the conclusion of the case study, you're going to answer the second question. This case study is about a new principal who enters a school struggling with how the new additional ESE unit with underqualified staff has demanded and needed more support. As the new principal navigates the scenario, she has the opportunity to take a new job much closer to home. At the center of this case study is the ESE population at the site. After reading the study, answer item number 2. Do special education laws take into account their effect on regular education students? Should suspension regulations be different for students with an IEP from those who do not have an IEP? Why or why not? Which of the 4 paradigms is the most applicable to this case? Explain your answer. Make sure you provide support for your ideas and rationale regarding this case. In case study 2, Principal Jeffers was making changes mid-year. This case follows a K-12 charter site which attempted to fix the initial need voiced by parents for a better transition from the elementary site to the secondary site. After reading the case study, write a brief summary of events, then write about the key practical and ethical issues. These 2 sections must be well developed and supported. Use your text. The next section must include 2 or more possible courses of action or next steps. Also, these need to be well supported. Do not just write what you would do. You must find research-based programs, lots of support. Finally, include the core value of integrity component. I look forward to reading your papers.